Hey gang, it's Bryan from FXBilliards. Today I wanted to talk to you about Sneaky Pete. Well, who the hell is Sneaky Pete? Those of you that don't know, Sneaky Pete is a pool cue, a quality pool cue that looks like a house cue. Now, back in the day, because I'm an old guy, back in the day, a Sneaky Pete, you couldn't even buy one. I mean, it was like buying a handgun on the street at one point to get a quality cue that looked like a house cue. But these days, major companies make Sneaky Petes. The whole point of a Sneaky Pete is that you give the illusion of being a guy that's playing with a house cue when you might have a $600 Predator cue in your hand with a 314 shaft. Now, let's talk about whether or not you need a Sneaky Pete. First, I know quite a few guys that have Sneaky Petes in their bag, but most of them are using them as their primary cue. They're not trying to fool somebody with the Sneaky Pete. I have heard guys in APA years ago say, "Oh, Chan is playing with a house cue over there." And I have to remind them immediately, no, that's not a house cue. That's a $600 Predator cue with a 314 low deflection shaft. The Sneaky Pete these days really only fool those who don't know a lot about pool cues. It does not fool the experienced player. It does not fool the person who knows about pool cues and about pool. I am yet to see a Sneaky Pete that really looks like a house cue. Now, I'm sure there's some out there, but the bottom line is, you know a 314 when you see it. Even if you don't see the 314 on there, there's a good chance you recognize it. You certainly know a house cue from a quality cue, even though a lot of house cues, even the cheapest ones, look like two-piece cues these days. I think the funniest trend that has happened over the last few years is not that people are taking quality cues and trying to make them look like house cues, but the houses, the pool halls and the bars are buying cues that they're trying to make look like two-piece cues. So you're more likely to be fooled by a guy using a house cue that looks like a two-piece custom cue than someone that has experience being fooled by a Sneaky Pete. So why would you buy a Sneaky Pete if no one is going to be fooled by it? Plus, most of you, I know some of you are gamblers, but most of you are not. No one is going to fall for, hey, he's using a house cue, he must be some kind of scrub. Those kinds of things happen in the movies. In the real world, you can tell very quickly if a guy has a set of skills unless he is such an expert that he can mask those skills. So, again, why would you buy a Sneaky Pete? There is one great reason why. The one thing that causes cues to be expensive. Now, there's a number of things. There's quality, obviously. There's, low deflection cues are more expensive to make than standard deflection cues. I think it's funny that guys think that I saw someone in the comments that thinks low deflection cues are a gimmick. It's funny because 90% of professionals are using these cues, that this is the #1 selling item in the industry. Do they think that the industry is pulling the wool over the heads of 5 million people? So they're not a gimmick. There is a process to making low deflection cues that makes them more expensive. But as we talk about the butt of the cue, there are certain things that make it more expensive. What kind of woods are being used? What kind of wraps are on the cue? The quality, the joints, all of these things. All of these things add cost to the cue, but don't improve the cue from a playing standpoint. Now, quality joints, good quality woods, good grips, all of these things can add to the playability. But when it comes to inlays and special grips and things like that, a lot of that aesthetics, 90% of it does not lead to you playing better. Bottom line is, the #1 reason you may want to consider a Sneaky Pete is because you can get the quality and the playability of a very expensive cue at probably half the cost. This is why a lot of guys have Predator Sneaky Petes. They don't want to pay for an icon, or they can't afford to pay for an icon, or all they're looking for is the playability. So they get the Sneaky Pete. So there is a reason for these cues. There is a market for it. You're not going to fool experienced players with them thinking that you're some scrub using a house cue. Most experienced players that you're going to gamble with are going to be paying attention anyway. They're going to know you came in with a cue. But nevertheless, there is a market for it, and you should consider it if you're looking for a high-end cue without the aesthetics to allow you to save some money. So that's all I have for you today. Guys, hit me in the comments. Let me know if you've ever seen or used a Sneaky Pete, and if it's something that you might consider going forward. Also, don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos, and have a great day.